The field of kinsmen. The wind in Moab did not howl. It whispered. It carried the scent of arid hills and foreign gods, a constant reminder to Naomi that she was not home. Now, it whispered through the empty spaces in her life, through the doorway where her sons should have been laughing, past the hearth where her husband, Elimelech, had once warmed his hands. 10 years in this land had claimed them all, her anchor, her future, leaving her with only the hollowed-out shells of 2 Moabite daughters-in-law and a bitterness as sharp as flint. "It is time," she said one morning, her voice like dust. Orpah and Ruth looked up from grinding barley, their young faces etched with a shared grief that had once bound them together. "The famine in Judah has passed. I will return to Bethlehem. There is nothing for me here but the ghost of a life." She looked at them, these daughters of a people she once distrusted, and her heart, already broken, fractured further with a pitying tenderness. "And there is nothing for you here with me. Go back. Go back to your mother's houses. May the Lord show you the kindness you showed my sons. May you find new husbands, new homes." Tears flowed, a 3-part harmony of despair. Orpah and Ruth clung to her, protesting through their sobs. But Naomi's resolve was forged in the furnace of loss. "Turn back, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to bear more sons for you to wait for? No, my daughters, my lot is too bitter for you to share." It was the harsh, unvarnished truth. She was an emptied vessel, a walking testament to grief. After a torrent of weeping, Orpah, her heart breaking with practical sorrow, kissed Naomi and turned back toward the possibility of life. Naomi watched her go, then turned to Ruth, expecting the same. But Ruth did not move. The younger woman stood against the Moabite wind, her figure slight but unwavering. In her eyes, Naomi saw not just the grief of a widow, but the steel of a choice being made. "Do not urge me to leave you," Ruth said, and her voice, though soft, carried a weight that stilled the very air. "Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates me and you." The words fell not as a plea, but as a vow. They were not about following a better prospect. Naomi had none to offer. They were a radical renunciation and a fiercer adoption. Ruth was cutting herself from her own past, her own gods, her own people, and grafting herself onto Naomi's shattered destiny. She chose the emptiness, the bitterness, the unknown, for the sake of the bond that grief had forged between them. Naomi saw the absolute finality in her eyes and said nothing more. The road to Bethlehem was long, dust coating their sandals and sorrow. As they crested the final hill and saw the little town, a murmur went through the gates. "Can this be Naomi?" the women whispered, crowding around. Naomi, her face lined with 10 years of drought and death, met their gazes. "Do not call me Naomi," she said, the name that meant pleasant. "Call me Mara, for the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty." She was empty, but she was not alone. A silent, steadfast shadow stood beside her, Ruth, the Moabite. Survival was a daily calculus of desperation. It was the time of the barley harvest, and Ruth, without being asked, said, "Let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor." Naomi nodded, the gesture heavy with worry. It was dangerous, vulnerable work for a foreign, unattached woman. "Go ahead, my daughter." So Ruth went, her cloak pulled tight, and found herself in the field of a man named Boaz, a relative of Elimelech. She moved with a relentless, graceful economy, bending and gathering from dawn, her back aching, her hands growing raw. She was a solitary figure of industry amid the bustling harvesters. Boaz noticed her. "Who is that young woman?" he asked his foreman. "She is the Moabite who came back with Naomi," came the reply. "She has worked steadily since morning, except for a short rest in the shelter." Boaz approached her. Ruth, startled, bowed low to the ground, the dust of his field mingling with the dust of her journey. "Listen, my daughter," Boaz said, his voice kind. "Stay in my field. Stay close to my servant girls. I have told the men not to touch you. When you are thirsty, drink from what the young men have drawn." Ruth, overwhelmed, fell face down. "Why have I found such favor in your eyes, that you notice me, a foreigner?" "I have been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law," Boaz said, his gaze encompassing not just her, but the invisible tether that bound her to Naomi. How you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. He was not just offering protection, he was acknowledging the sanctity of her choice. That evening, Ruth returned to Naomi with an ephah of barley, a staggering amount, and the leftovers from her own meal. Naomi's eyes, which had been so dead, kindled with a faint, astonished hope. Where did you work today? Blessed be the man who took notice of you. The man's name is Boaz, Ruth said. Naomi's hand stilled. The name was a key turning in a long-locked door. The Lord has not stopped showing his kindness to the living and the dead. That man is our close relative. He is one of our kinsman redeemers. The ancient Levirate law, a thread of provision for widows, suddenly lay before them, not as an abstract statute, but as a path paved by the barley in their hands. Under Naomi's careful, strategic guidance, the wisdom of a woman once broken, now fighting for the survival of the one who had refused to abandon her, Ruth's story became intertwined with Boaz's. He was a man of both compassion and integrity, who saw in Ruth not just her loyalty, but her worth. At the threshing floor, in a scene of profound risk and trust, Ruth followed Naomi's instructions, placing not just herself, but their shared future, at the feet of their kinsman. Boaz responded with honor. He dealt with a nearer relative in the solemn public arena of the town gate, and he claimed the right to redeem Elimelech's land, and with it to take Ruth as his wife to maintain the name of the dead with his property. The women who had once whispered, "Is this Naomi?" now crowded around her again, but their voices were a chorus of joy. They held the child against her breast, a baby born to Ruth and Boaz. Naomi has a son, they celebrated. Naomi, who had demanded to be called bitter, now cradled the warm, breathing weight of redemption. The emptiness that had defined her was filled, not by the reversal of her old losses, but by the unexpected, gracious gift of a new future. The bond forged in the white-hot fires of loss had proven stronger than blood, stronger than nationality, stronger than death itself. It had led them through the wilderness of grief to a field of belonging, and from a field to a family. The women named the child Obed. He would grow to be the father of Jesse, the father of David. The story that began with a whisper of wind in a foreign land, with two widows on a road to nowhere, became a quiet, golden thread woven into the grand tapestry of a kingdom, a thread spun from the unwavering loyalty of a daughter who chose love, and the redeemed hope of a mother who learned to receive it.